Hey, how's it going? This is Ryan Jones. In this video, I'm going to be talking about how you can be successful at a code school. So I went to a 6-month code school in downtown Portland called Epicodus, and during my experience there, I kind of took this alternative route while I was there, and I saw a lot of really great results. After I graduated, I started a small startup, and then I was hired from that point at Nike to be a software engineer. And so this kind of transition that happened, it all started off the back of the work that I did at Epicodus. And then from there, I slowly built into these other areas, which were unrelated to code school. But in this video, we're going to talk about how can you be successful at code school. What did I personally do to kind of increase my skills and kind of put myself in a mental state where I could excel, right? And so when I first heard about Epicodus, I was in Texas, and I immediately, in my head, I had been watching shows like Silicon Valley. I've been watching like Mr. Robot. I really didn't have too much like development or technical experience or anything. I started to learn about development about a year before that, and I made like a couple of like bootstrap websites using Codecademy, which I'll link in the description. And Codecademy helped a lot, and it got me part of the way. And then also Udemy. I started watching like Android videos. For me personally, I thought, hey, I'll just start learning Java before I understand like object-oriented programming or anything like that. And so then I took a Java course as well on Udemy. But I kind of got burnt out because the concepts were a lot to take in as your first language. And so I kind of stopped a little bit, and then I found Epicodus after watching a video from a developer named John Sonmez. So I'll leave a link to his stuff as well. He's called Simple Programmer, and he made a video talking about how you can gain experience before getting a job. And the kind of concept behind it was, hey, make an Android app, say that you're a company, and then use that as your experience to then validate yourself as a developer to a company. And so I did that. I started like going like, okay, Android's the way. I don't have like a background in like computer science. I don't have a degree, anything like that. But I can basically make an Android app, and then I can release it, and I can say that this is from my company, and then I can say my work experience is from working for this company, and that'll help me get a junior position. So that was kind of my mindset initially, and then I found Epicodus, and so I was already starting that journey a little bit, but I didn't really have the direction that I needed and the guidance that I needed to get there purely by myself. And so once I did actually apply to Epicodus and I got in, I had a moment where I called my mom and I was like, hey, this is how I get to Google. This is how I get to Amazon. Like, this is my ticket, you know. I'll go here for 6 months. I'll apply to Google. Bam, I got the job. I had no idea the different, the level that the walls and stuff that go on. But I was just like very motivated, and I'm very like self-confident that this was the way to get there. And so my mentality before I even went to code school was like, I'm going to be a senior developer at the end of this, right? And within like the first like couple weeks of Epicodus, I already felt like a junior developer. And that was mostly just because I felt like the concepts that we were learning and doing, like people are already getting paid to do this, right? So it's true. So when you're at code school, you really switch that mentality from like you're a student to more like you're already a developer. You're already a junior developer, and you're basically learning how to be a senior developer. And yes, it's probably not fully there, and people will probably argue with me on this. And you won't go from like junior to like senior in 6 months, but it's a mentality thing, right? And so like when you're looking at yourself in that way, then you make actions based on that mental process that you wouldn't make otherwise. So if you just thought, I'm a student, I'm going to learn, then when I graduate, then I'll be good enough to get like a junior position or something like that, you're thinking about it wrong, and you're waiting for this end date to come that you haven't really prepared for. And then when it does come, then you don't really have anything in place to actually get it. So you're basically saying like, okay, I'm going to be reasonable, I'm going to live in reality, I'm going to wait for 6 months, and then I'll be ready. And what you end up doing is you lock yourself into this position where you can't really like move out of it, because you've already said, I am a junior developer in 6 months, right now I'm just a student. Nobody would pay me to do this yet. I'm not good enough at it. And so for me, I was like, hey, I was already applying to jobs. I was already trying to get like freelance work. I was trying to. I had like interviews with like startups, and I was like, yeah, I can make your Android app. Like, yeah, I can make your website. And like, it wasn't that I was able to do it. It was just I believed in myself enough that if you gave me 8 hours to learn something, I would be able to learn it. I'd be able to take those small steps one by one, and then eventually be able to implement it. And so, if you're able to switch your mentality, this is more important than the learning. It's more important than what technology you're working on. All of that is like secondary to like how you think about yourself. And so within the first days of Epicodus, I started going like, oh wow, everybody around me is so smart, and that's where I kind of like started getting like self-talk that was negative. And then slowly I started to realize like, oh hey, like the amount of time that I'm working on this and the way that I'm looking at this, I slowly started like move away from other people in my cohort, in my class, because I just looked at it a little bit differently. And so if I thought that I was going to go to Google after this, or Amazon or Facebook, I had to work really hard, right? And so in the mornings I would take the train, and so I would watch Udemy courses on the train, unrelated to the stuff they were doing at Epicodus. Sometimes related, like we'd be doing JavaScript, and I'd be watching like an advanced JavaScript class or something, just trying to like not fully understanding like what they're talking about, like closures, all this stuff, but just kind of getting myself mentally like stimulated. And then, or I would watch inspiration or motivation in the morning, so that when I came into Epicodus at like 8 o'clock in the morning, I was like skipping. I was like, okay, let's do it, and just do it, just kidding. And so I would skip in, and I would be like, okay, I'm ready to code 8 hours a day. Let's go ahead and like jump into it and get ready. And then as time went on, I was doing like I was working at night, and I was studying at night, and also building like side projects. And I was taking notes at Epicodus, not so that I could pass the class, but so that I could rebuild this on my own once I left. And so that was kind of the main thing, is I always looked at it like, I am going to use this experience to start my own company. I'm going to use this experience to build something that's $1 million company, $100 million company. And so when you look at it like that, you start going like, wow, like, okay, this right here, I need this, I need this, I need this, I need this. Not because you're trying to pass the project every week, but more you're trying to mentally take these notes so that you can look back on them later and go like, okay, this is what I meant, this is what I wanted to do. And so one thing I would recommend that I didn't do while I was at Epicodus is I didn't take a journal where I actually wrote down ideas for companies, right? And so I would have like my phone, and I would type every day on the train, on the commute back. I would be writing down my ideas for like businesses, but it wasn't organized. And so there's a real power behind having a journal and then writing your ideas, right? So what I would say is I now have this, and I do this every day. I have a journal, and every day I put the date. So let's say like 5/6, and then I'll put 1, and then I'll write an idea. And for a while I was trying to do 5 ideas a day, 5 business ideas a day, all scoped around the technology that I'm trying to work with, right? Or tech. Not like, oh, I could make a hot dog stand, or I could sell t-shirts. It's unrelated to like my skill set. So the idea of like an idea journal is to keep it organized, but also keep it very narrowly scoped. And so what you'll find is that you'll have really good ideas, and then if you don't write them down, or if you don't keep them organized, they're gone. And so like once you start keeping them organized, you start going like, hey, whoa, there's like, I have 10 ideas that I could build right now. I have 20 ideas that I could potentially build that seem like they're valuable, right? And so that's one thing I would say for people at Epicodus or people going to code school is keep an idea journal so that you can really keep track of the stuff that you're learning and what's getting you excited, and the potential behind what it could actually do for your career later, right? So this is really important. And so that's one thing. You have mentality, you have like an idea journal. Also, I would say to keep a regular journal. My idea journal is also / my regular journal. So I have like daily tasks that I want to do. So one thing that I would do kind of in my own head, but not actually writing it down, is I would say, okay, when I'm on the commute, I'm watching this. When I get to Epicodus, I'm doing it full epicodus. I'm doing the morning, and then I'm going to lunch, and then I'm going to the last part of the day, and then on the way back on the train ride, I'm watching this Udemy course. When I get home, I'm working on this side project. On the weekend, I'm working on this side project, or I'm applying to jobs, or I'm applying to freelance. And so I kept it all like mentally up here. It was never like go home, like watch TV or like play video games. It was sometimes that happened, but really it was like majority was I need to do X, Y, Z, and I would have that in my head, or I would write a daily to-do list on the phone in the morning, and that was really powerful because it gave me a constant reminder of these are the things that need to get done, right? These are things that are meaningful to me, um, and that would help because I would feel this obligation to do it once I got back to the house. And so you can keep track of your tasks and your ideas in one single journal. And what I would say for your tasks is you can look up a bullet journal. So a bullet journal, it allows you to organize it in a really cool way and also mark stuff off as you go through it. So I learned about this from a coworker while I was working at Nike, and since then I've done it every single day, and I'll tell you that it allows you to do things like see your progress throughout the week, look back on your prior weeks and go like, oh sweet, I did this day, I did these tasks, this is where I'm at on these like projects that I want to work on. And then also you can do like a week review. And so this week review is awesome because it allows you to just like look back on that week and say like, hey, like what was working for me? Like where was I doing good? Like where can I improve on? And so it's this idea of like you're constantly improving. And it's like the principle of like Kaizen, or the theory of Kaizen is like constant improvement, right? And so you're constantly improving yourself. And then as you're improving yourself, you're getting better at these different areas or opening up more time for efficiency, things like that. One thing that I found is that having this journal, it's allowed me to track where I spend my time too. So if I'm not getting tasks done, I start looking at that, like what is taking away from time for my own personal goals. And then you can kind of adjust yourself from there. Or you can do things like I have every single day I write like wake up at 5:30, and then I'll have like parentheses and I'll say actual, and then I'll colon, and then I'll write the actual time that I woke up. And this is powerful because then at the end of the week I look back and I say I said I was going to wake up at 5:30 and I woke up at 6:30, or I woke up at 8 o'clock. And so over time I've seen that it's consistently made me more likely to wake up at 5:30 in the morning when I'm actually tracking what time I actually woke up, because then it's accountability, right, to yourself. So this is cool. So I would say, use your time efficiently, right? So if you're going to a code school, watch something in the morning, whether it's motivation, inspiration, listen to a podcast, listen to an audiobook, get yourself mentally ready so that when you're at that code school, you're ready to go. And that's like the really big thing, because other people, they take the first hour of the day to start up once they get there, right? If you're already ready to go, if you warmed up on the train ride during your commute, then once you actually step in the door, you're ready to learn, you're ready to code. That you know what you're doing, you know why you're there, you know what the purpose is, and everything else just becomes like outside noise, and all you want to do is just get it done, right? And so keep an idea journal, keep your tasks, watch stuff in the morning that's going to inspire you and make you ready to tackle the day. While you're there, take notes on what you think is really cool. Take notes on ideas for businesses, and just really capture this moment of like, hey, at this time in my life, I'm choosing to not just go the traditional route, right? So for every single code school and every single student that's at code school, you're taking this choice. You're going, I want something better for my life, and so then you're making that step, right? And it's into the unknown. Like for me, financially, it did not make any sense. I did not have the money or the savings, but you're stepping off the ledge, and you're basically saying, I trust in myself that this will give me a better life. And just if you can keep that in the back of your head, and you can realize that that's the reason that you started going. For some people, and even for me, during times you start questioning like, why am I here, right? Like why 4 months in, like why am I doing this? It feels like maybe the work is too hard that day, or that week you're falling behind, or you're struggling a little bit, and you'll start doing that self-talk where you're like, oh, like, maybe if I went back to, the job that I was doing before, like for me, I was doing data entry, maybe it would be easier for me to kind of relax and take a break. But the second that you kind of start thinking that way, you have like choices, right? Like you can obviously like step off the gas and then you stop, and then the last 4 months is done for, or you can kind of push through it and kind of like keep learning at the same pace you're doing. That's super hard. I couldn't even do that when I was trying to do it. Like the second I felt burnout, I stopped programming. I started finding like I was playing more video games. I was playing like watching more TV. Maybe I was taking like parts of the day to like walk around downtown. And I think everyone kind of has to do that. Like it's okay to not be like, for me, I'm really hard on myself, but you don't have to be that hard on yourself to like do well. Like if you just listen to something in the morning and then you start your day during that code school, and this applies to jobs as well. Like I do this every day when I go to work. I listen to something that's going to motivate me and inspire me so that I'm ready to go when I get there. If you just do that, I mean, you're already like ahead. You know what I mean? Like that's already giving you advantage, because you're basically putting yourself in a mental state to do good, and so that's amazing in itself. If you if you're taking like your tasks and you're writing that down, you're gonna get more stuff done. You're gonna be more efficient. If you're writing down your ideas, it's gonna allow you to see more opportunity and be able to visualize yourself as not just a developer, but also as someone who could actually execute on these ideas and build something really cool. And so that's very powerful as well. So what I would say, and this is kind of, let's say this is part one of this video, right? Because it's getting kind of long, is that, mentally prepare yourself, keep a journal so you can write down ideas and write down your tasks that you want to do for the day, not for like work. Okay, this isn't like go to Epicodus or go to code school and then learn something. It's more like watch this Udemy video. This is on your own time, right? So you're trying to optimize. You're at a code school for this short duration of time, and you're trying to get this really big result. And you can either do just the everyday, like 9 to 5 at the code school, or you can actually use the morning commute, the late commute. You can even listen to stuff during lunch or read a book during lunch, and because you're training, right? This is training. This is not you're not like relaxing. You're not like kicking your feet up. You're actually drilling down. You're paying for this so you can learn as much as possible. And so if you come at it from the right angle, you can get some really awesome results. And so in the next video, I'll talk about kind of once the code school started, how did I consistently like stay on this track, and like what things did I notice, what was going through my head, how did the different stages in the code school actually affect me personally, and then also like when did I start making that switch from thinking of myself as a student to a developer, right? So I'll talk about it in the next video. Hopefully this is useful. I enjoy talking about it. That's why this past like 18 minutes has just flown by. So if you're interested, go ahead and watch the next video. Yeah, thanks so much.